Hi, this is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I want to come to you live today, Friday afternoon, to share a fancy fold card with you called a Fancy Gatefold card. There you go. And let me just check and make sure that everybody can hear me. So let me just make sure that I think everyone can hear me. Is there anyone out there that can go ahead and say hello? I hope so. I hope you all are having a wonderful Friday afternoon. Okay, so I am streaming. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Friday afternoon. Let me turn on one more of my studio lights. Sorry, coming from you live, and I want to make sure I have all my studio lights on so that you can see the cards. So this is the card that I want to demonstrate live. It's a rather involved card, and hopefully I can work through it without getting too involved, because I know that some people complain that the live videos can be a little involved. But I rather like the opportunity to sit here and to interact. We're certainly here in Pensacola, Florida. We're still doing our kind of our sheltering in place. Okay, this is a great card. Now, I started out, I believe this is the first card I made right here, and you can see how it opens up really beautifully to make this wonderful fancy gatefold card. Then here's another version I used as I was playing around with it. And finally, I made this card only because I was trying to figure out the measurements between the 3 panels. I ended up getting 4 panels, but I thought this was still a really pretty card that you could make if you really don't want to do something really involved. And this was my last card that I made. And I used some DSP, and this is terracotta tile and mint macaron with some of these other stamp sets. And let me show you the stamp sets that will be featured. And I'm going to do a coloring technique. The stamp sets that I'm using are the Paris Beauty, the Forever Blossoms, and the Very Versailles. Now this stamp set, okay, is going on the retired list. So if you want this stamp set and bundle, which has some wonderful framelits in it, you need to act fast because the retired list is out, and they while supplies last. I used the flower image from the Forever Blossoms, and then I used some of these other really pretty images to kind of give this a kind of an eclectic ensemble type of stamp. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that, and because I'm going to be using my Stamparatus. So you're going to need your Stamparatus. The inks that I'm using are mint macaron, terracotta tile, and early espresso. I'm also using crumb cake. So those are my inks. Now for paper, what I'd like to do for this card, this is the DSP that I used for this card here, and I actually ran out of it. So now I'm going to have to go and dig into my DSP pile. And what I came up with, and this is in the same suite, and let me come over here, and this is the Woven Threads DSP suite. I love the colors. Again, this is something that's on the retired list, so you want to make sure you pick up any of those favorites now. So I picked up this sheet here, which I'm going to combine with terracotta tile and some of the crumb cake cardstock, which I'm going to use as matting. I also have some Whisper White cardstock that I want to use for stamping. And I do have, we're going to have, this is going to be cut at the correct size, and I'll go through all those sizes here in a minute. I also have a 12 by 12 piece of Whisper White cardstock. You need this to cut your base card for this particular fold. So you're going to need a cutter. You're going to need your stamparatus. I am using this wonderful stamp set, the So Sentimental, for my sentiment, and then I'm using these framelits to frame this sentiment so nicely right there. I really love this set. Now this set will be available in the new catalog, but it will not be available as a bundle. So if you want to get your 10% discount, you need to be able to get that now. Hey, welcome Kathy. Thank you for joining me from Germany. I hope everyone is safe and well at your house. It must be nighttime. Here it's about 2:30 in the afternoon here in Pensacola. You're also going to need your scoreboard. So I'm going to put that aside, as well as your cutting board. I love this new one. This is going to be available in the new catalog, and I really like how it I think it's a great improvement over the old one. So to begin with, I'm going to take this 12 by 12 cardstock, and I have my notes right here because this was a rather hard card for me to put together. I'm a visual learner, so I had to play with it several times because I wanted to be able to explain it to you, to present it to you with some ease, but I didn't want to get too bogged down into all the measurements. So I'm going to have them on my blog, but for now I just want to kind of walk through them rather slowly. So you're going to have to cut this 12 by 12 piece into a piece 12 by 5.5. So we're just going to come over here, and I have that marked right there, and I'm going to cut that 12 by 5.5, and I'm going to use my cutting board, my cutting piece, and I'm just going to put that down. The next piece I'm going to need is I'm going to need a piece of Whisper White, and this is going to be the piece that we're going to stamp, and I want to have that cardstock piece is going to be 5 by 3 3/4. So we're going to go over here to, let's go this way and go to 3 3/4, which is right there. And I'm going to cut that by 5. Okay, so this is the piece of cardstock we're going to use on the front of our card that we're going to stamp with. So let me go ahead and put that aside. I'm then going to need several pieces of DSP. Now, I'm going to need a piece of DSP strips, and I think I'm going to start with this piece here. So you can see I'm going to need 4 strips of DSP for the outside of my for my card after I score it. This piece here, and let me just get my ruler. This piece on the inside is going to be 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So let's do this. 3 3/4, which is going to be right there, by 5 1/4, and that's going to be right there. Okay, that's going to be the inside of our card. Now the strips along the outside are going to be 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. So this is, that's 5 1/4. So let me go ahead and cut that 5 1/4. Okay, and that should fit. Yep, so that fits that length right there. And this is going to be 1 3/4. So let me go over here to 1 3/4. So we're going to cut that one. And then we're going to cut this one 1 3/4 right there. Okay, let me move these pieces out of the way. So those are my two pieces. So again, let me cut this one 5 1/4. And maybe we'll do it this way. 5 1/4. And this is going to be 1 3/4. So 1 3/4 right there. And we're going to need 4 of these. So I'm going to cut those 4 right there. And let me get that one right there. Okay. So now I have my inside piece, okay, and I have an outside piece for each side of my card, okay? So let's just go ahead and put these aside. I have my long piece, and now I have the piece that I'm going to stamp on, and now I'm going to cut a piece of cardstock, which is going to be the matting for our image. And this cardstock is going to be 5 1/2 by 4, 5 1/2 by 4. And basically it's the size of the front of the card. So let me see if this is going to work. So 5 1/2, yeah, 5 1/2 by 4. So that's 4 right there. And we're going to do that 5 1/2. All right. So is this is this making sense there, Kathy? Because I want to make sure that my instructions are kind of clear, because it did get me a little off track at first when I was trying to put this together. So I'm going to move some of my extra pieces and parts out of the way and just put them aside. And I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, because I've done the cutting. And I'm going to have my scoreboard here with my stylus. And I'm going to lay my 12-inch piece of paper, which is 12 by 5 1/2. And we're going to score this at 2 inches, at 4 inches, at 8 inches, and 10 inches. I don't know if you've watched any of my other videos, but I have a little pug. His name is Rocky. And Rocky snores. He's been snoring all afternoon, but he's gotten up now. He's a little active. So I'm getting, my toes are getting licked right now by my little puggy pug, as he's kind of telling me to pay attention to him, not to leave him alone. As I'm talking, usually when you talk, cats like to respond to you, and I think Rocky does the same. Okay, so I think I have all my pieces and parts cut. I do need to have a piece of Whisper White and some of this cardstock for that piece, but we're going to save that for last. Let's go ahead and get this piece folded. And let me get my bone folder. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to fold this and then fold it back. We're going to fold it over We're going to crease it, and then we're going to fold it back. Okay, so this is what makes our gatefold. Okay, this is our base card. All right, so we're going to take these pieces here and we're going to glue them to our card. And I'm going to use some glue, and I like to use my silicone mat so that I keep my work surface clean. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue this up like this. And I'm going to just place that right there. And I really like this pattern. I think this is really kind of pretty. It's kind of eclectic. But the fun part is yet to come, and that is how we're going to do some coloring of a stamp set. This is something that you can use for any of your stamp coloring, and it's going to be using craft foam. I demonstrated it using, I think, the Ornate Gardens series. If you saw that video, you'll see how I used it to color the flowers in that stamp set. But I wanted to go ahead and use it again for coloring the flowers in this set for this card as well. And there we go. We're just going to go ahead and just put that there. And then our last piece is going to be this back piece right here. And I just think that is really pretty. I love terracotta tile and that nice neutral color. Okay, so I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to grab a wipey because I just want to make sure I don't have any glue on my fingers. And there we go. There is our card. This is the front of our card. So now what I want to do is I want to take the Hey
honey, you're still gonna make the special dinner tonight, right?
Yes, I am.
What do you think that might happen?
When I get done with this here in about 45 minutes.
You want the dog out?
Yes, please. Thank you, sweetie. That was my husband. He didn't know I was broadcasting live. Okay, so let me bring in my Stamparatus. I love a Stamparatus. I don't know if anybody online has tried it, but I just absolutely love it. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to do to color these flowers. And let me grab a piece of okay. This is craft foam right here. It comes in this pack. And here in the United States, you can get it from Amazon. I don't know if you have an Amazon in Germany, Kathy, but it's basically very thin, and it's just foam. So I used this craft foam, and what I did is I took this stamp set right here, this stamp, okay? And it's the image of the flower. And I stamped this flower on the craft foam using StazOn ink. And this is the same steps that I demonstrated when I did the Ornate Garden Florals video, which just precedes this one. Then I cut them out, and I have, and what I want to show is that if you line up this image, the flowers are going to line up perfectly. This is why using the Stamparatus is so wonderful. And I'm going to make sure I clean my plates here, because they can get kind of dirty. You see the ink say the ink on it. Anyway, they line up just perfectly. See how they kind of lie on top of each other? That's why you use the Stamparatus, because you can go ahead and stamp your image, and then you can line up your little pieces of craft foam after you've cut them out. And I used multi-purpose glue to adhere them to my plates. Now these plates, again, are in the annual catalog, but they are retiring. So if you want to get extra plates, if you own a Stamparatus and you want to get extra plates, or you don't own a Stamparatus and you're going to buy a Stamparatus now, buy the Stamparatus and buy the extra plates, because you only get 2 plates with the Stamparatus, but with extra plates, I get to use them to do a whole lot of other techniques. So I would really, really encourage you to do that. Anyway, I have a plate for the flowers and a plate for the leaves, okay? And I've lined them up with my flower. But I'm not going to stamp my image first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my paper with where I want my image and make sure that my stamps line up, and they do right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start stamping the image. So I'm going to stamp the first image, or our first stamp is going to be using, and let me turn it this way so you can see what I'm doing, is I'm just going to stamp this up with terracotta tile. And there you go. Now I have to maybe stand up a little bit just to make sure that I get coverage. And I like to kind of wipe this down, because this craft foam will take the ink, but it will make the foam very inky. So you kind of have to watch that you don't get ink on you. Now I'm going to take the next one, which are the leaves. I'm going to put them in the Stamparatus, and I'm going to pick my mint macaron. This is a perfect color. It's very soft. It's green, but without being very a strong green. Now, I get my ink all the way around, and again, I like to clean up my plate a little bit. So, okay, so there are my images. It's almost like I guess printing, you know, how you go ahead and you put down a screen, or I forgot what the term is. Okay, so now I'm going to take my image and I'm going to ink it up very lightly. I don't have to put a lot of ink on this. And I'm going to ink it up using my Early Espresso. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And if I need to put any more ink, I'm going to just go ahead and do that. And look how pretty that is. Let me move in so you can just see how really gorgeous that turned out. Isn't that gorgeous? See? And look how easy. Now, if you wanted to make a whole bunch of these cards, it's very easy to do. Once you cut out these little these flowers. Oops, let me move back out. Okay, so now that I have that done, I'm going to keep it like this, because now I'm going to add some other stamps. Now here's my Stamparatus plate, and I added stamps, and I'm going to pull out some stamps from this stamp set, because I just want to kind of create a collage, and I'm going to use crumb cake. But I don't have, this is stamped, so I don't have to worry about my flowered image. But what I want to do is I want to protect my Stamparatus pad. You can get this in the catalog, and it's wonderful because it has the cush that you need when you're stamping photopolymer. But I'm just going to use it the way it is because it works just fine for the cling stamps as well. Okay, so I've kind of put it where I want it, and I can grab a magnet, but I want to make sure that my magnet is kind of out of the way and doesn't impede. There we go. Okay, so then I'm just going to grab my crumb cake, and I'm just going to lightly touch. Isn't that pretty? Now it is, I use the writing, okay, from this stamp set and the pretty writing from this stamp set, from the Very Versailles. I use the leaves and the writing, and I use this border, and then I use the writing here from the Parisian Beauty. Now what I'm going to do though, to finish this off, is I'm just going to take these two stamps here, and, or rather I'm going to take several stamps, and then I'm just going to turn this around, and I'm going to show you what I want to do with this. This is clean, so I'm going to move those out of the way, and they're ready to go to make another card. But I'm just going to like to play with this a little bit. I've got some room on my image here. Stamp off, stamp off. I have an Eiffel Tower symbol I can just put right there. And I also have, so we're just kind of finishing this off a little bit and filling up the space. I have a wonderful little fleur de lis right here, and I can just go ahead and do a stamp off kind of there, and maybe right there. And we're just, this is kind of what we're doing, is basically kind of filling it in where we didn't have room on our Stamparatus to put all the stamps, but we can kind of begin to do like a bit of an over stamp and layering our images to create a really nice eclectic look. This is the lines for our, and there we go. Isn't that pretty? So now we've kind of created our kind of eclectic collage of very Parisienne and travel and just soft and feminine. So now let me put these blocks away. And there is our card. So let me put my Stamparatus. Now all my plates, I just want to show you how I store it. All my plates store nicely, and I often, if I didn't get that clean, I often just kind of put either a piece of paper, or I'll even put a piece of damp piece of baby wipe, and I'll just store them like this until I'm ready for my next card. That will kind of keep them from getting too dirty, and I can, you know, go on to my next project. Now, this is the tricky part, because now we're going to cut this card, and we're going to put it on this cardstock and build the strips that are going to go across it. This is the only way I could figure out to do this, is I had to take a small trimmer, a mini trimmer, and this is going to be cut at, and let me measure, because I just want to make sure that I get this right. So these pieces are going to be exactly 1 3/4 all the way across. So let's start at the bottom. 1 3/4. We're going to hold it, cut. And then we're going to do 1 3/4. We're going to hold it and cut. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to take our cardstock, and I'm going to adhere these to the cardstock with gaps. I'm going to let those gaps show between the cardstock. All right? So I'm going to start at the bottom. We're going to glue this one right here. Make sure that I have I'm going to do the top because I don't want to run out of room, right? So I'm going to do the bottom and the top. And I'm getting glue on my mat, and I shouldn't do that, so I should have my silicone mat here. Okay, and then I'm going to center this one right here. That one's going to go centered. So we're going to go ahead and center that. And make sure it's lined up, and it's going to go right there. Okay, so this is the top cover that goes to our card, and it fits perfectly right on top of it. So now that it's nice and dry, I'm going to grab my little mini cutter again. And this tool is perfect for doing this. And let me just move in so you can kind of see. I am just going to line that cutter right up between the blades. Let's see. Okay, and I'm just going to cut. There you go. I'm going to line this cutter between the blades like that. Perfect. All right. It's not about it's going to work out perfectly, because now what we're going to do is now we can put this on our card, and it's going to all fit really nice and snugly to create that. It creates this nice tension with your card, because your pieces, your cardstock fits so nicely together, and it's rather a surprise when you open it. So that's why I like doing it this way, rather than trying to figure out all the dimensions first. Okay, now if you'll notice the way our card is, we have two pieces on one side and this one on the middle. So what I do is I just take this piece, and I'm going to just grab, I can grab a pencil. I'm just going to grab a pen. I'm just going to mark it here, and I'm going to put an X because that's where my tape's going to go. And then the same one with this one. This is my middle one, okay? This is my bottom one. So the same thing, I'm going to just kind of make sure I don't want my tape to go any higher than this, and this is with the side that I want my tape to go. So now I'm going to turn those over. And this one is going to go right here, okay? So we're just going to open up this flap, and I'm going to just mark, I want my tape to go there. Okay, so you should have your X's should look like that. And then you want to take your tear tape and we're going to put our tear tape right here up to this line. We don't want to go any farther than that. And right there. And then this one's going to go here. Again, just we don't want to go past that line. And we're going to go there. And I'm just putting on my tear tape. I love tear tape. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and start flipping these over. Let me just make sure I checked, make sure I put all the tear tape on the right side. And yes, I did. So now I'm going to grab a tool here, my X-Acto knife. And I'm going to remove my tear tape first. Okay, now this is the middle. I'm going to put my middle here, and this is my bottom. Got tear tape all over the place. Oops. Okay, so this is my bottom. So I'm going to, I'm just simply going to line this up the bottom of my card like that. Okay, then I'm going to take the top and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line that up, and you can, my hair's in the way maybe, and I'm just going to put that there. Okay, then I'm going to take my middle and I'm just going to stick it in there and make sure that it aligns with the other two. And there you go. We have our, there we go. Look at that. We have our fancy fold gate card. And it's nice, and it kind of fits nice and nice and snug together. So it doesn't even look, in fact, you know, it looks like this card, right? Looks like this card, only it opens. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stamp our sentiment for the inside. So I have to reach over here and grab some Whisper White and some orange. And I'm going to grab my sentiment, which is already on a block right here, and I'm going to grab my my early espresso, and I'm going to stamp that right there. Your friendship is a blessing. So so that's done. Let me just clean my block. And I'm going to grab my framelits. And the framelits I'm using are these two large ones. And this is going to get, I'm going to cut this one here, and then I'm going to take a piece of the terracotta tile and cut this one. So let me go over here to my Big Shot. I don't know if you're aware that the new catalog, which will go live in June 3rd, has a new cutting machine. Stampin' Up! Has finally released their new cutting machine. It is fantastic. In fact, they are releasing 2 cutting machines. They're going to release the regular size one, and they're going to release a mini cutting machine that I think is fantastic because it is something you can put on your desk and use in kind of like on your desktop, rather than as you can see I'm doing. I have mine kind of off to the side because it can be it's large and it's cumbersome. When I use it on my craft table, it makes everything shake. So it's really doesn't help my when I'm trying to do videos. Here's a neat tool. This is a magnetic mat right here. Let me show you. This is a magnetic mat I got, and I put my framelits while I'm working on here so that I don't lose them, because I've lost so many of them. So that's a way I can kind of keep track of them. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab some glue, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this right there. It glues perfectly. Look at that. Oh, I just think that is just so lovely. Isn't that lovely? Now you can pop that up on dimensionals, and I think I have done that in, yeah, I've done it in this one, and I think it's gorgeous, but it does make it a bit fat for mailing. So I didn't do it in this one, but I did use pearls. So I kind of like it not popped up. So it's kind of a judgment call on how you're going to use your card. If you're going to mail it, and what your postage costs would be if it's going to, affect that. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, I just love that. Now, there it is. Now we're going to embellish it. And I'm going to embellish it with these wonderful Fauceted Gems that come with the Ornate Garden Suite. These will be available in the annual catalog, but I just think they are gorgeous. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to put a couple. Because I can. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. And I'm going to put 2 right here. I'm just going to use these really small ones there and there, which is, oh my gosh, isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. Okay, so there you go. I have just given you a tutorial. I hope it didn't take too long, using the Ornate Garden Suite gems, and kind of coming up with some really a neat way to do some coloring. As you can see, I made all these cards, and it was easy breezy to color the flowers using the craft foam method. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Please like and share. That's how I get recognized in Facebook, and my videos will get seen. So I really appreciate a like. And please go to my website, stampartconnection.com. I will have all the measurements posted there with some pictures and this video for you to refer to after I get this published. So Kathy from Germany, thank you so much for joining me. Have a blessed day. Stay well and stay safe. This is Kat Chancellor, Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. Happy stamping.